Welcome back to another Pristine Productions here. I'm your host, mixing engineer Andrew Rayburn here, and shout out to all the fans and all the subscribers. Remember, you can hit me up at pristineproduction.webstar.com. Link in the description. If you want me to mix and master for your sessions here, bring it up to commercial level, you can hit me up and I will discuss the terms and prices. But today we're going to be talking about mixing fatter drums. You want to get that punchy drum sound, knock it in your face, get that 2020 sound. So without further ado, let's get right down into it. Now, as you can see here, I'm using an old drum kit from the old Korg M1 here. This is to show you guys that, hey, you don't need to spend a whole lot of money in some serious drum libraries, you know, a $200, $300 drum library to get some decent drums. Now, I will say this, you have the money, you buy the stuff, and they sound great right out the box. You barely have to do any mixing to it. That's great and all, but that doesn't mean you can't make stuff sound great as well. The M1 has been known to have some nice classic sounds. So I'm going to show you some techniques how I got this drum to stand out here. So I'm going to knock off the inserts and I'm going to play the drum. This is what I started off with. Soul kit. And the reason why I chose this drum here is because this drum kit has a good decent kick and a snare to it. So I'm EQing the drum kit as a whole. I'm not breaking down the individual sounds in here because this one doesn't have the ability to do that. But if you're a professional and you know how to mix with frequency, come on, you can make things happen. So first thing is first, I'm gonna pull up the SSL channel strip here and I'm gonna show you what I did here. First thing is first, I rolled off a little bit of 40 here, and I'm gonna be adding a little bit of 8K. That's to get a little bit of sheen to the drum, since these are vintage sounds out of the old Korg. And of course, I wanted to boost the kick and the snare drum at the same time. You might say, Ray, how would you do that? And also, I'm using the compressor to get a little bit more volume, a little bit more punch with the SSL. So I'm going to turn this on here. Turn on the channel strip. Off. On. So let me show you what I did real quick. I'm going to roll off to about 40 here. And a little bit of 8K. Just so I can get a little bit of brightness here. Now, the power and punch, as you well know, comes from the bottom frequency, 50, 60, 80 kilohertz and up. So, on the SSL channel strip here, I'm boosting about 5 dB, and I'm boosting about 197, and I don't have the bell on. Once this light is off, the built-in mechanism here, I'm using a shelf. And if you don't know what a shelf is, I'm going to give you an example real quick. Let me get this pretty much, let me fix this, guys. Shelf is this hill that you're seeing here. I'm going to tone this down here a little bit. And there we go. This is what you call a shelf. So what I'm doing with the SSL here, I'm shelving all the way up to 197 from 60 and 50, which kind of looking like this right here. So it's covering from about 60 going to 197 here on the analog plugin. So that's how I targeted to get a little bit of punch in both the snare and the kick. Now if I did the bell, listen to the kick. I'm not getting much boost on the kick. turn off the bell, I can hear that kick. And of course, right about 5 dB would do it. And of course, like I said, I wanted more volume, so I'm going to boost the threshold here so the compressor pushes that drum kit just to get a little bit more snap and punch there. Now, listen to that. Wasn't enough for me. So what I went ahead and did here, I have the bass line here. And the drum still needs to compete with that. So I went ahead, and since we're dealing with a vintage drum kit here from the M1, I went ahead and get the smack here. And I'm pushing more of the attack to make it more sound like a gate here. I'm also trying a little bit of expansion here, but I'm not getting much. So yeah, I'm going to leave that as it is. We're going to bring in the smack. Listen to the dynamics of the drum. The snare drum's going to get a little bit more tighter. This kick drum is going to stand out a little bit more. So here we go. Off. On. Off. Let me go on. And now the drum is sounding a little bit better. We also went ahead and take out a little bit of resonance here. I'm gonna boost the frequency, stuff like that. And to top it off, let's play the bass. That sounds pretty nice. So I top it off with the CLA 3A, which is gonna put a little bit more punch, a little bit more fatness on that drum. So let's turn it on. And there we go. CLA off. On. So the keynote to learn here, guys, don't be afraid to boost. Remember, when you have a bell turned on, you're boosting something like this. When you have the shelf activated, let's go over this side here. When you have the shelf activated, you are creating what I showed earlier. Something similar to this right here. You're shelving up from the lower parts, and that's how you translate the settings when it comes to analog EQ and that stuff, because you won't see any digital display here. So by turning off this bell, I know that I'm getting a shelf. How big is the shelf in the Q? It's sounding more like a medium, Q to me, or the size of the frequency span here, but you go with your ears. So I know that when I'm mixing drums and the kit sound pretty good by itself, I don't need to break up the individual parts or try to do that. Sometimes I don't have that option. I go ahead and use the frequency. So I'm adding a little bit of punch to 200, almost 200 kilohertz here at about 5 dB. Also, that shelf is covering 30, 50, 60 go up. So I can get a natural sound in the drums. And what Chris Lord-Alge has taught us as well, I'm a very big fan of him, is that you can boost these frequency and the drum is sounding natural. I'm not changing the sound of the drum, I'm enhancing, getting more power. So when I turn off the insert, the drum is still fairly similar, but it's lacking the punch. So when I put on my inserts, that thing is ready for the mix, So I want to leave that with you guys. Remember, you can support me. Hit me up on YouTube. You can also contact me on Instagram and Facebook, and go on my website. Well, so I'm going to catch you guys on that next.